Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hi, my name is Miss Paris and I'm a newly qualified primary school teacher here in the UK. So today what I wanted to talk to you about was things to not do in your teacher training interview. You know, I like to make recommendations on questions that might be asked or things that you should do for your teacher training interview, but what are some common mistakes or things that you should just avoid? So that's what I want to talk to you about today. There will be around about 10, if not 12. I'm not sure. I wrote them down, but I tend to waffle a little bit, so we'll see. So let's get started. My first tip, in case you don't get far in this video, which is absolutely fine, but I want this to be the first one because I think it's the most important, please do not dress informally or casually. Because the thing is, I've read different things about some interview days being really strict and really structured and really formal, and others being kind of casual, but you don't know this beforehand. So you don't want to risk wearing casual clothing, jeans, to a really formal interview. So just in case, go wearing, you know, a formal top or a blouse. Men go in the suits with ties or at least a formal jumper and a tie. Yeah, definitely don't take risks in terms of the outfits that you decide to wear, because one of the first things that was said to me on my interview was that somebody once got sent home straight away, didn't even get a chance to be interviewed because they were wearing jeans. And also, sometimes these interviews take place in a school, so you've just walked into a school on like a non-mufti day as a visitor wearing jeans, so that doesn't look good to the school either. Whether you work there or not, you still want to make a good impression in case of future employment. The second tip, which I'm also putting very early on in the video because I think it's really important, and I keep repeating myself for this, for safeguarding questions, do not answer anything else other than that you can't keep whatever a child discloses to you a secret. You cannot keep this a secret. Make sure that you say to the child that you can't keep it a secret and that you will probably have to tell somebody else. If they ask you, what would you do if a child came up to you or a teenager came up to you, you know, and asked you to keep it a secret? Do not say in the interview, oh, I'll try my hardest, or I would promise to the child but tell somebody anyway. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. I don't have enough hand actions to tell you. Please do not say that, because not only does it make you look unaware of safeguarding policies, it also doesn't fill them with confidence that you'll know how to react if a child does disclose something to you. My third tip, and this is related to the questions, some people might ask, do you have any weaknesses? Or tell me of a time when you found something difficult. Don't say that you don't have weaknesses, and don't say that you've never come across anything difficult. If, you know, you are quite well-rounded, try and think of something before the interview so that you're not sat there in the moment going, because the thing is, they don't want you to be super critical of yourself and put yourself down. But they do want to see what areas you might need support on during your teacher training year, or maybe how you've overcome previous challenges. If, for example, you find it tricky dealing with stress, they might ask you that because you will be stressed in your PGCE year or in your primary education, bachelor's, or whatever you're doing. You will be stressed at some points, and they need to know that you have previous examples of handling that, managing that, and that you have some coping strategies in place. They don't want you to say, oh no, you know, I'm really good at everything, I'm great under stress, I'm a perfect teacher, I've never had any issues in my life, because let's face it, you're probably lying. And another reason why it's important is because whether you are training as a teacher or you are a well-experienced teacher, reflection is a key part of your practice. And you will see that in your journey actually. You normally go from kind of thinking at the end, okay, what did I do wrong, what did I do right, to in that split second thinking, I shouldn't have done that, or next time I need to do this, note to self. Reflection is really important, and if they don't see that you're able to reflect on past events or reflect on your personality and your characteristics, then I don't know, it doesn't look good. Linked to that is, don't oversell yourself. I mean, it comes with every interview really. You are there to be trained. You are going to train. So don't pretend that you know everything. Don't pretend that You know every single piece of pedagogy there is to know. Do not pretend you know the national curriculum inside out. You know, if you've been a teaching assistant for years, you might well do, but there are always ways that you can improve and ways to develop professionally. So don't oversell yourself. Okay, another thing, and this is more around secondary teachers, but it could also apply to primary if you're doing a specialism, or if you said in your application or your UCAS personal statement that you were particularly fond of a certain subject. Do not go in there making claims that you know, are ready to be a geography teacher, and then if they ask you a geography question, or if they say something like, oh, what's, you know, a recent piece of news in geography recently. I don't know if I said that the right way around, but you know what I mean. Don't come completely unprepared or look like you don't know your subject. If you go in and you're applying for primary with a specialism in maths, and they give you kind of a math skills test and you kind of falter the easiest of methods, it doesn't look good. If you are going in, you know, as a secondary teacher or a specialism in primary, do some research or have some different things that you could talk about, whether that's recent news or things that you're working on at the minute. If you are doing English, tell them about what you're reading. They might possibly ask you what you're reading at the moment and how are you finding it, because you don't want to teach other people if you're not making the effort towards your own subject. It just doesn't really make sense. Okay, so I'm going back a little bit on this, but another thing, and this is just generally with the whole interview, don't have a fixed or a closed mindset. They want to see you, again related to this reflection thing, they want to see that you have the capability to grow, that you have the capability to be open-minded, that you have the capability to take on criticism, because there will probably be a lot of it at times. Take on criticism and, you know, take the next step forward in improving yourself professionally, becoming a better teacher, helping the children make progress every step of the way. Because if you are very set in your ways and you can't see your way around a problem without going to one specific thing, even if it doesn't work in that situation, you still have to go there and nothing changes. You're at a standstill. Education is constantly changing and you need to show that you could adapt as well. Another thing, okay, like I said, I've lost track of the number of tips now, but never mind, I told you I like to waffle. Another thing is to don't switch off your professionalism just because you're not in a face-to-face or screen-to-screen or in direct questioning. You know, if they ask you to sit in the canteen and eat lunch with the kids, they don't want to see you suddenly switching off and not talking to the children and, you know, just kind of eating, rushing out there, or, you know, wanting to go to the staff room to go on your phone. They want to see you engage with the children, or if you're sat with the staff, engage with the staff. Show that you can form those relationships. And if you are walking out of the school, remember, you don't know if the office people are still watching you go out, or you don't know if there's parents around that could hear you. Do not suddenly turn off that professionalism and, you know, get on your phone and start, I don't know, ranting away about something. Make sure to remain professional until you are in the clear of the school, that you are nowhere near them, nowhere near any staff, you know, and then you can just be yourself. You can just be your normal casual self. But yes, don't just suddenly drop that persona just because you're not in the middle of an interview. The next two tips are related to your lesson activity. Now, I've had loads of comments on previous videos asking, can you make me a plan, or what would you recommend for this activity? And it's really hard to generalize because I don't know the children, I don't know the year group, I don't know if you've been given any kind of description or specification of things you need, but I can give you these two tips. Number one, don't overcomplicate your activity. When I planned my first activity, I was lucky enough that I could actually trial it out when I was doing work experience, and it took me nearly 45 minutes. So that was not going to fit in 15. I ended up redoing and re-preparing my whole lesson the night before, and actually it worked perfectly in that 15 minutes. But even in QT interviews, I've had lessons where I've practiced, it's gone really well, perfect, let's say 5 minutes, and then in the interview, you know, it still runs over. So don't overcomplicate it. It's not doing yourself any favors. Even if you don't have to deliver it and it's just making a lesson plan, don't overcomplicate it. And make sure to always refer to the national curriculum, because as adults, you know, with like, oh, this is easy. But if you go to year 2 or year 1 or reception, or EYFS, you might think, okay, wow, they don't know that. But you don't want to make a lesson plan doing, I don't know, bus stop method for year 2. Yeah. Make sure to refer to the national curriculum and don't overcomplicate it. The other tip was about lesson plan, lesson activity resources. If you have planned, let's say, a maths lesson with concrete resources, or you want to do something art related because you're secondary, if you don't ask the school in advance to prepare the resources and you don't bring any in, don't expect them to completely jump to your aid. If you arrive and 2 minutes beforehand you're like, oh, by the way, do you have any art stencils, or do you have any Deans or Numicon I can use? Because you can't just assume somebody's going to run around the school collecting some for you. So make sure to give them enough time to prepare resources for you, to make sure it's all there, to make sure there's no mad rush, and yeah, it just makes both of your lives easier. My last 2 tips. Now, if you got this far, okay, please tell me how many tips I'm on right now, because I have no idea. I don't know what I'm going to put in the title. But yeah, my last 2 tips are again going back to the questioning, because this is where people may panic the most, and where there is maybe a lack of consistency between different providers, and people kind of think, okay, well, where do I turn to for advice? So I just want to offer these 2 tips as well. So the first one is, make sure that you don't offer such simple, minimalist answers that the interviewers are kind of waiting for you to say more because they think it's too short. You know, if they say something like, tell me of a time when a child was really emotional, or, you know, they were having a kind of breakdown, how did you deal with this, or how would you deal with this if it ever happened to you? You can't just say, oh, well, I'd let them calm down first. You know, that doesn't really mean anything, and they're waiting for you to expand on that answer. But you also don't want to do the opposite side and ramble too much. This is where I always go wrong, as you can probably tell. But don't ramble forever, because then you might end up going into a hole or covering other questions, and then, you know, they might ask you harder questions because you've already said so much in those answers. So you want to find that nice middle ground, you know, have enough so that you feel it answers the question, and that it also shows your knowledge on the subject, or maybe your knowledge of pedagogy, or that it summarizes your experience nicely. My other tip about questions is, do not ask any questions at the end. Make sure you have at least something in mind that you could ask them, whether it was something related to earlier that day, or something that you're not sure about in terms of how the course will work, or especially nowadays, it might be something like, do you kind of know the proportion of learning that will be done online, or will we have opportunities for face-to-face, I don't know, seminars or lectures, so that we can meet our, you know, SCITT colleagues as well. I don't know, that kind of thing. But make sure you say something, because there is something really abrupt about going, do you have any questions for me? No. It just feels abrupt and like an odd ending. It's nice to have a little kind of almost informal discussion at the end of them answering your questions, and it also kind of, hopefully, depending on the question, will make you feel a bit more settled and a bit more confident, and know a little more about the SCITT, the programme, or what's to come. You know, anything like that. There's loads of different things you might ask, and actually just reading about your SCITT and doing your research, that's another thing. Do your research. Questions might just come naturally. Okay, so I really need a drink because I spoke a lot there, but I hope that helped. I know that my other interview tips have been really popular before, so I really hope that these were helpful as well. If you are interested in any other particular videos that I've done on interviews, I will link them below in the description and also in the iCard, I don't know what it's called. But yes, if you liked this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more teacher content, and press the bell, because I did make a community post saying that I'm no longer going to be doing my Monday to Friday, because I do want them to be good quality videos, and I found that it was too much pressure with everything going on at the moment. So click that bell if you want to be notified of when I upload, because it might not be as regular anymore. And if you found it useful, please do feel free to share with others. I will see you soon. Bye!